Welcome to Geordie Lass Doc Sass. One day, a Geordie and a Canadian walk into a bar and decide to start a podcast about relationships, and what a topic that is. No subjects are off limits. Get in touch today with us at geordielass.com or email info@geordielass.com and let us know what you think and what we should talk about. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, welcome everyone.
Hello.
I think there's a passing ambulance that has decided to grace us with their presence right at the top of our, we're
you
on
do
fire
like the
today.
sirens around you, I have to say.
Well, I think this will be a fiery episode, so might as well get the fire trucks ready. Oh, gracious. All right, so back in the saddle.
We are indeed.
And you're at the new relationship desk of love.
I am at the new relationship desk of love. It's all working out well.
It's all working out well.
Although
That's awesome.
I do have more space now to create more mess, which I'm not sure is a good thing.
It's funny, hey? Every inch of space in our lives will be taken up, whether we have 10 square feet or 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
That is how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Human
like time, you need to fill it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, let's dive in. Okay. Well, wait, no. How are you doing? I haven't seen you. Oh my gosh. I just feel like I haven't seen you, but I have. I don't know. Life is going in a weird...
It feels like it's been a long time, but it's actually not.
I know that's...
Maybe it's just been a really, really long week.
I think it's just been like time bending. There's been lots of things going on. I'll tell you that. I think it's a time of personal transition for a lot of people. A lot of people are going through a lot of changes, and time tends to contract and expand when there's stuff going on. So yeah. Are things going? Are you stepping into spring in a smooth fashion with a bounce in your step?
Things are good, actually. I do need to swap my wardrobe over. So I'm in a bit of kind of wardrobe chaos right now. So that needs to be rectified pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because the sun is out in full force. So it's lovely.
Oh,
so
lovely.
yeah. No, I've had a good week, actually. I managed 3 yoga sessions this week, which I was delighted at.
What?
I know.
Talk about personal
Check
accountability.
Me.
Hello.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And I did 2 walks yesterday.
Oh.
Not long walks, but 2 walks. So. So yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more active. I'm trying to get rid of the post-holiday weight.
Oh, not too late. It's okay. You mean the winter holiday? Like, as in
my holiday that I just went on.
Oh,
and
yeah,
ate too
Cape
much food.
Verde. Oh, my gracious.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. As you should have.
Yes.
See, that's good. I thought you were talking about Christmas.
No. Although probably I'm still carrying a bit of Christmas weight.
Aren't we all?
Just never shifted it.
You've got it. Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. So yeah, how's your week been?
Well, I beat the crap out of myself on my paddleboard yesterday, and the winds were in such a fashion that I was actually able to paddle a part of Lake Ontario that I don't usually get to, just because it can be quite gnarly. But it was quite calm, and it takes me into these bluffs, the Scarborough Bluffs, for anybody who knows what I'm talking about. And the water is not clear, but it is aquamarine. It's really gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I really had a wonderful paddle. The way there, I didn't feel all that great. You know, when you start out and you're like, man, I don't feel that great. But man, on the way back, and for the majority of the paddle on the way back, it just felt, more and more you get into something, and then the environment conspires. Like, everything got a lot calmer. The water became more peaceful. And then everybody was out on the beach, because it's Victoria Day long weekend here, and everyone was not swimming, to be perfectly clear, but having beach barbecues. And so I was sort of paddling around this real family affair. Everybody was out on the lake shore. So it was just gorgeous. Paddled my ass off. Just a bit sore this morning. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the rough, isn't it?
That's the trade-off. It's kind of like, man, I can't even get out of bed. Actually, that's not true. I certainly was able to get out of bed, but just the arms are a little sore.
Well, I was definitely feeling yoga in my stomach, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's some muscles that got a little workout that I haven't seen the light of day for a while.
Oh, your core. You've got it. Well, let's hop on to that relationship desk of love. What's going on over there?
Indeed. So, what have I got for you today? Have you heard about delicate dumping?
No. But have I been a recipient of delicate dumping? Probably. Have I dished it out? Probably. All right, tell me.
Delicate dumping is a new relationship trend that is cruel, as experts advise, and you should never settle for scraps. So that's the headline.
Oh, it sounds like a good thing, delicate dumping. All right.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
Ooh, interesting.
So delicate dumping involves taking a step back from your relationship without having a breakup conversation. So it's about employing tactics such as ghosting, replying to a partner more slowly, or even ignoring the other person completely. So it says, and the therapist that's written about this said that whilst delicate dumping, it's quite a tricky one to say that, is perhaps simpler, it's also very unkind. So basically, you don't say that the relationship's over. You just kind of, I guess, slowly kind of step away from the relationship, engage in it less, and just hope that the other person takes the hint that the relationship is over. Come on.
That's a misnomer. This should be called cruel dumping, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
I've been the recipient of this, and I do have to admit I probably have done this too in my former days, for sure.
Oh, Anna. Naughty girl.
I know. I listen, I'm the first person to admit when I've done wrong. I am a Catholic after all. We love getting punished for our misdeeds. Lapsed Catholic, but anyways, that's just for the record. Yes. So no, this is absolutely terrible. And it seems like a good idea. I don't know how we get it into our heads that people will just get the point and what gracefully be like, well, I guess this is over. Maybe we don't have to have a conversation. That is terrible. When has that ever worked?
Yeah.
Never.
I know. Well, I think you just need to grow up hair and get on with it. And
Sarah, you got it. Grow up hair. Yeah.
You just got to face up to it, haven't you? If it's over, it's over. Nobody likes breaking bad news, but at the end of the day, I do think the therapist's right. It is crueler to kind of have somebody just hanging on and thinking that actually maybe we're just going through a rough patch as opposed to the relationship being over. So it is mean. You should be straight up, be honest with people.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, we presume that somebody's going to take it so badly that we just don't want to have the conversation. But you know what? People are really great with straight up information. Sure, you might see anger, you might see tears, but at the end of the day, if you give somebody the gift of information, they can be an adult and they can kind of move on and get over you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just, give them the key to unlock the prison of this, whatever. Maybe you're scared that they're actually going to get over you surprisingly quickly. But, we really do a disservice to not give people the benefit of the doubt that what you think they're going to come over and murder your family. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that, you dumped me. No. Okay. Or egg your house.
All right. Extreme.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's a Monday. I don't know. I'm feeling.
What have you been watching at the weekend?
Totally. Actually, as an aside, the clickbait that happens. I live in this condo building where, to much devastation, they've installed these silly little TVs in the elevators that just run clickbait news. And Toronto is a really interesting city. It just has a lot of very strange crime, a lot of crime and a lot of strange crime. So you're just seeing random murders all the time, just flashing at me as I'm coming up and down the elevator to walk my dog. And I know that I'm being sort of sucked in by this, but I probably was in the elevator seeing some random murder crime happening. So yes, that's where I first go to.
You need to take the stairs, love.
Oh my God, I love it. Oh, Sarah, well played. Right. So no cruel dumping. Be straight up, let somebody reckon with the truth, assume they're going to be an adult. And there's going to be emotions and they're going to say some stupid shit to you. Sure.
Yeah.
And then they're going to move on and then it's going to be fine. And you're going to be an adult.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just be a grown up.
A lot of what we talk about is adulting.
Yes. Yeah.
In terms of our C words, our favorite C words. Right. Okay, Sarah, thank you for that reminder to be an adult.
You are more than welcome. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for a hot topic, madame?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Today's hot topic is a stable relationship boring?
Oh my gosh, I am having the conversation of a lifetime right now on this very topic. And
really? Tell me more.
Oh my gracious. So it's a bit saucy, but anyways, so there's this conversation that I'm having with somebody very important to me who is that is talking about the science behind this, because people study this. People study the constant work that goes into cultivating a relationship, getting past the infatuation stage, working on something, growing into true love, and overcoming all the disillusionment and the sort of those huge painful transitions along the way. These are all, people studied them. There's ways to sort of keep leaning into this work. Is it boring? Well, that's another question. I believe not. I find it very exciting. But is it as emotionally tumultuous as anxiously attached infatuation love? No. So it's kind of like if you want to do cocaine every day of your life, then you will find a long-term relationship boring. All right, I've been watching too much clickbait news on drugs in Toronto. Okay.
It's like, what are you doing?
Know,
What's
it's like
happening
exposure
to
to violence over the weekend. So anyways, that's my thought, but it's all over the place. What about you? What's your take on this? Is a stable relationship boring?
Well, I can understand why people could possibly kind of make that link and come to that conclusion. I think, like maybe is it when you were younger, you kind of thought, oh, that's, it just looks really dull, or people like kind of fresh, new, exciting. We like things to be kind of, the spiciness that happens in the beginning, that chemical rush, that kind of the bit where you are kind of just so excited to see each other, you think about each other nonstop, you're texting nonstop, like, that part of that kind of fresh new beginning part of a relationship, then, that is great. We do feel kind of great when that's happening. And so you can understand why you might then think, well, look, if it's the same old kind of every day, then is that not a bit boring? Is that not a bit dull? So I can understand why people would say that. However,
yes, but
I genuinely think that if you have got stability in your relationship, you feel, I'd say 100% kind of comfortable, stable, you've got that trust element, you just believe in your partner. And, none of us have got a crystal ball, none of us have got any sort of guarantees. You don't enter into a relationship and you sign a kind of, no refund policy. It is kind of, we're all just doing the best that we can to connect and stay together, but there isn't any guarantees on any side of it. But if you're reasonably kind of self-assured with your relationship, and you do believe in your partner, you believe that you've got what it takes to stay together, then I don't think that is boring.
Absolutely.
I think the kind of boring side of it, I think, really crops up when you actually stop taking any notice of each other, or you stop doing some of the things that you did do in the early days to connect with each other. You're no longer kind of interested in what your partner's up to, what they're interested in. You kind of almost, shut off, switch off. You're not kind of giving the relationship that time, or your partner that time that it needs.
Yes.
I think that's when it can kind of, you get into that kind of boredom factor where it's like, is this it? When you become very transactional and you're not actually connecting together as two people, and you find that you've got better relationships outside of the relationship that you're in, then I think it can kind of be seen as something that's boring, because you've got so much enjoyment outside of the relationship and you're not getting that same kind of buzz or that same fuzzy, nice feeling inside of your relationship.
Oh, yes. Actually, this has brought me many, I think our parents used to, or some people's parents used to say, this is an old adage, like there's nobody who's boring, it's you who's boring. If you are bored, you are boring. It's kind of like if you find yourself being bored in your relationship, it is because you are not doing you're showing up as a boring person. You're not being curious. You're not looking for new things to discover. Yeah. You've stopped learning and growing. So that's absolutely true. But interestingly, to the point that you have more interesting things outside of your relationship than within. I mean, part of what is required is to stand on our own 2 feet as an individual, keep working on that then circle of the individual I, in addition to working on the us. But I agree with there's sort of a right sizing of that, because if we end up doing too much outside of the circle of the us. Oh, how do you, I don't know if we might have talked about that a little bit, but like, how do you, you're talking about like purposefully or like starting to exclude your partner, right? Maybe socially.
So I guess a bit like we're just talking about there about the what was it called? Dumping. Why have I got such
delicate dumping.
Delicate
Cruel
dumping.
dumping.
Right? Why is my
Bullshit
brain like so small nowadays?
Because we're old.
A single thing. Yeah, we are. Yeah. So a bit like that, you know, in that situation, you're kind of you're switching off from the relationship, aren't you? And you're kind of gradually moving away. If you do the same when you're in a relationship, but you stay in it, there isn't anywhere to kind of go. So, you know, if you're living together, you've got kind of a long-term relationship, but you actually start to exhibit some of those same behaviours, then that's when the relationship, you know, well, it's in jeopardy for a start, but you know, you're not kind of getting that same fulfillment that you would get if you really kind of tune into your partner. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have relationships outside of your relationship, because you should. You should have outside interests. But you're right, there needs to be a balance as to kind of how much time commitment, you know, how much energy, how much focus you're putting into those. I'm a firm believer that you've got to have that connection inside of your relationship for it to work.
Yes.
You've got, however you get your connection, because we're all different in terms of, you know, what we want to see and feel and do, and how we want our partners to behave and how we want to behave with them. That's all kind of unique, and it's based on that combination of who you both are. But I know for me, if kind of we've had a couple of weeks where we haven't really connected, haven't done things purposefully together, I start to feel that disconnection quite heavily, and therefore I know that, and that's kind of like a saying, actually, I need to be kind of putting some more time and effort into this.
Oh my gosh. This is part of this conversation I'm having, this dialogue about, like, I'm starting to kind of see that the whole, like, we should plan date nights. I'm starting to kind of rethink, and I think we have on our podcast, it's not just like a mechanical date night. I have literally seen a couple where they planned a date night and they drove there and they went to a restaurant and then they came back, but there was actually no intimacy shared. They performatively went through the steps of booking a date night and hiring the babysitter, but they didn't actually connect intimately. I was just thinking, I also was in a relationship where we would scroll for at least half an hour individually on our phones in the bedroom. That is missed time to connect, whether sexually, whether just, you know, and not just about like, did you pay the bill? Oh, you know, so-and-so's camp is coming up. No, I'm talking about the bigger things. The other thing that came up to me is like, if we're on a car ride and a car trip and we're in a couple, right? And the kids are asleep in the back, right? That's a time where we might not choose to have music or a podcast. Well, no, having a podcast and both of you listening and maybe discussing it afterwards. But that's a time, that's like a precious moment you can steal together to talk about the deeper things, connect deeply. And again, you're going to want to talk about the transactional stuff. There's camp. What are we doing next Sunday? Whatever, your mother, etc. But like, it's so important to book transactional time, like the management of the house. We need like a stand-up meeting every week to talk about like that. And then we need non-transactional time. And that relieves, that gets the mix going. That stirs up the punch bowl. That reminds you that your partner, you will never know them. You'll never know the depths of them. They'll never know you. That's the fascinating thing. There's always something to be surprised about.
Yeah, absolutely. And we change over time. So just because you knew something in the beginning, actually my views on that might have changed. You know, when did we last discuss that topic? And kind of I was able to share, you know, what my current thinking is and why it's changed.
And you know what's funny? Have you ever been with a dysfunctional couple? I think we all have, in a party, and one person says, oh, this, that, and the other, and their spouse is like, you don't believe that.
Yeah.
When did you start
No,
whatever?
I don't.
Yeah. And you realize in this very moment, this couple has drifted apart. They've stopped checking in and learning about each other.
Yeah.
Don't be that couple, everyone. Sorry, I laugh, but like, you know, like, I am a...
We've all been that couple at some stage.
It is around every corner. We can always slip into mediocrity. It's always the risk that, you know, we have to do constant work prevent the downslide into mediocrity. And I'm as much a student in this game as everybody listening.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
Any concluding thoughts on the stable, boring nexus?
I think what I'd say is if you do have it in your kind of mind and your kind of thought process that actually a kind of stable relationship is boring, I think it's about reframing that. So it's kind of turning it on its head a bit, isn't it? Like, so, and digging a bit deeper as to why you think it's boring, because I'd suggest that there's something underneath that, which is around, there's some kind of underlying belief that is kind of creating this perception in your mind that if I stick in a relationship for too long, it's going to get dull, it's going to get boring. So I think it's about kind of switching that up a bit and saying, okay, well, if I believed it wasn't boring, like what would the relationship have to be like in order for me to feel like it wasn't boring? Because maybe it's just there's a few parts missing and you need to introduce those.
Isn't that's a really cool coaching perspective shift? Because we so often feel at the mercy of like, this is boring. It is, and it's beyond our control. Or in this most recent sort of time is like, if it's boring, then I guess I just have to leave it and get a new relationship.
Yeah.
What would it be like if it weren't boring? What would that look like? That's pretty amazing.
It's my parting words.
I like it. I like it.
All right. Shall we try a question out?
Let's do it.
Okay, today's question. I've been suffering with panic attacks for days after drinking. I can go for months without a drink, but when I go for it, I go for it. My partner is a big drinker and is always asking me to drink. Sometimes I give in, but I don't like the feeling I get for days afterwards. I've tried giving up permanently, but I can't seem to do it.
This is really, and I see this all the time as a physician, right? I see, and as a coach as well, but I see that one of the things that can stand in the way of healthy lifestyle changes is somebody's partner.
Yeah.
It can be friends as well. It's very hard for folks who've had a heavy drinking lifestyle, especially in their 20s when it's really cool to do so. But then actually one of the things that can get some of my folks on the straight and narrow is that their friends all kind of grow up and have families and there's nobody to go to the bar with anymore. That can be the reason why my 40-year-old male patient comes in and is like, I guess I should worry about my cholesterol and stop doing the benders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So like, okay, this is a big thing. I can feel the pain and hear from many, many, many directions. What are you feeling on this?
I think for me, what's really interesting is there's a couple of different parts within the actual kind of question itself, isn't there? So there's the unhappiness of the feeling that comes from kind of, really kind of drinking too much. So that I think it's something to really focus on because there's also this pull from the kind of partner and whether that's real or perceived. So it could be, actually, I'm perceiving that my partner would be really upset if I gave up drinking. But, the person does mention that they don't kind of drink all the time. It's kind of like one-off. It's, it's more kind of irregular as opposed to kind of regular by the sounds of the question anyway. So there's clearly some time where it is working, where the person is able to kind of, have the measures in place that they want to have in place. But there's a fear of the judgment if that becomes kind of, actually, that's the norm. That's kind of how I am. So I think there's a fear of judgment there. And I wonder whether the person has actually truly explored that with their partner or not, or if they're just making an assumption that my partner would be upset. So, and I think for me, I would focus on this kind of, this days of unhappiness, because you can hear that's, as you're saying, there's kind of pain in that question there. It's very kind of heavy, feels like it's weighed down. And it's about understanding, is the discomfort that you're feeling and, panic attacks, the kind of whether it's guilt that's going alongside it or other kind of emotions, is that unhappiness, that kind of pain of feeling like that, is that worth the, whatever it is that you're getting from having those kind of, deeper drinking sessions?
Yeah. Well, and I should say too, like just from a physician side of things. Like the fortunate or unfortunate reality, it's fortunate, is that our body does not process alcohol in the same way in our 30s, 40s and beyond as it did in our 20s. And so the reality of that deep dysphoria that can happen overnight, the next morning, and for days, it's actually the sort of the now reality of how your body processes alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant. We don't think so in our 20s because we think we're more fun and so forth, but it's a depressant. It screws with our sleep. One of the big things you'll notice is you'll kind of pass out after you drink some wine, but then you're up at 2 a.m. and you can't get back to sleep. So that early morning waking completely rogers our sleep. The reality is our body, for many, many people, cannot, or certain alcohols don't agree with us, right? Wine and beer are absolutely they're terrible for our sleep, for our moods. So really, I mean, the other thing too is you may not even need to sort of look that far as to the dysphoria. It's just that's what alcohol does to your body and to your brain. And that's the new normal. There's a period of denial where somebody's like, well, maybe I can drink this time and be fine. It's like, you can throw that rodeo into play for as long as you need to learn that your body is going to feel like it sucks every time you drink. It is what it is. Sorry. But but so then beyond that, it becomes a question of identity. We are terrified to change or for us to be seen as different. And there's something about this person who there's identity markers around the drinking. Maybe they're like, I'm fun. I am joyful. I'm a party goer. Maybe there's things attached to the drinking that they're worried that if they stop drinking, that their partner will be like, but I thought you were this, that, and the other person.
But it's interesting though, because this isn't kind of like every time the partner drinks, the other person drinks. So there's something that allows that space to happen and for it not to be that way. But there's obviously something that's kind of triggering that desire to go back to it, I guess. So, but I think, in terms of like identity, and we do kind of, place a lot of emphasis on kind of this is who I am, and then that does drive the behaviour. I think it's a case of, for me, where I go with it is, on the identity front, is more about actually who do you want to be? Like, who, if we looked at kind of future self in 12 months' time and you were making the decisions that you wanted to, that were going to make you happier and feel really comfortable with your life, what would that look like? What sort of decisions would you be making? How would you change things? And then we can get back to kind of some tools and some techniques and some ways to actually then start to achieve that.
I like that. Oh, I like that. And not only how would you like things to be in 12 months, but what would it feel like?
Yeah.
And what are the feelings you're striving to feel? Maybe it is, I want my mood to be more consistent day to day. I don't like the big highs and the big lows.
Yeah.
I want to be able to sleep well. I want to be able to feel like I have control over my life. I want to feel healthy. I want to be able to continue my workout program without not having like days where I'm like sitting and eating like chips because that's all like, so forth. So And what would that feel like?
And it is really important to focus on those kind of more positive aspects of describing kind of what you want, as opposed to focusing on something where we feel like there's a negative, or we're giving up something, or we're losing something. Yeah. So when we describe the things that we want to gain, it has a much bigger impact than if we start to kind of describe the things that we're going to lose or feel like we're going to miss out on.
But to disagree with that somehow is whenever we're looking at change management or like behavior change around something like smoking or drinking, it is important to spend some time reckoning with the losses of a positive change. Because if we don't at least look in that corner, like a smoker who's trying to, if I keep drilling into them about how bad smoking is and I give them the health benefits if they were to not stop, what I'm ignoring is the benefits of them not stopping. It could be social benefits. It could be I'm anxious and I need an excuse. Smoking is the only socially sanctioned thing that allows you to say, I need to go outside and be alone because there's nobody else who smokes or few people who smoke. What other thing can we use
Yeah, but that's more about putting in strategies, isn't it, to be able to replace some of those kind of perceived benefits of what you're doing. So you start to look at, what can I do to counter that?
But it's also readiness for change. Same as this person. It is, if we don't reckon with the benefits that this lifestyle that you want to change, if we don't look at the benefits it's giving you, we're not going to be we're going to be blowing smoke up our asses to your readiness for change.
Yeah.
And so, correct. With this person, I'd want to know what benefits does their occasional heavy drinking give to them? Yeah. And then not only and are you prepared to start to rethink those, give them up or replace them? And then if that's the yes, because the pain of change is not as bad now as the pain of the status quo. And then we can talk about replacements to that, or challenging the assumptions. And that's a big thing. Then we arrive at the challenging of the assumptions, because this person's drinking is related somehow to the way they see themselves with their partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you start such a discussion?
I think just with some kind of, it starts with the position, just like the person's really kind of said in the question is, look, I've really noticed that the last few times that we've kind of had a bit of a heavy session, this is what happens to me for kind of multiple days afterwards. I really don't like that feeling. It's making me feel quite worried. It's making me feel anxious. I've noticed that this is a big change and it's a big impact. And I really don't want to feel like that anymore. And then then comes the kind of ask, if maybe you're asking for some support with that, maybe you're asking kind of what their views are, and then just, start to kind of engage your partner in a discussion around it. And often we're surprised by the responses that come back, could be like, I had absolutely no idea that this was how you're feeling. And, nobody wants their partner to be, in discomfort or distress or upset, The majority of people, wouldn't want to be somebody that's enabling that. Correct.
Yeah. That feels very accessible, that conversation. Nice.
But I think, anything where we're making kind of a big change, a big transition, it is hard. And I think the other thing I'd say is, never give up giving up. So if you tried something and it doesn't work, don't think, oh, that's it, I can't kind of do it. Like the person said in the end that they're not quite sure if they've tried in the past. But never stop trying, just because we didn't do it last time doesn't mean to say that we won't do it next time or the time after that.
Oh, that is the cornerstone of our coaching. Never stop trying.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, nowadays there's so many people who are kind of on that kind of sobriety journey, and there's so much more that's out there in terms of, non-alcoholic or alternatives to things. And so I don't think that it means that you have to miss out on anything. It's just you're trying different drinks that haven't got any alcohol in them. That's all. And
totally,
you kind of feel better about that. And you're doing it because it's linked to you wanting to get rid of some of the kind of, unpleasant feelings that you've been experiencing. I think there's a lot of support out there nowadays. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of help. So I think, if that's your choice, absolutely go for it. And, don't let something else hold you back.
Oh, totally true.
We've got to be allowed to be who we want to be in relationships and not be governed by the fact, I can't do it, my partner wouldn't like that, When we're in that situation, we're not allowed to be kind of more free-spirited and to, try some of the things that we want to try in an experiment.
You've got it.
It doesn't mean to say that we then have to say, right, okay, I'm giving up alcohol now, you have to as well. It's not about trying to change the other person. But, we do have to be able to make some of these choices for ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, that is a big key, opening up the door of the prison of the small prison of our mind. If we were to just sit there mulling over our own, small interpretations and assumptions.
Yeah. It's always a good question to kind of ask yourself, if I wasn't in this relationship, what decision would I make?
Yeah.
Because that just challenges you a bit, doesn't it? Well, actually, if I was on my own, probably wouldn't give it a second thought. I'd just give up and that would be that.
And immediately that insight is there of so why am I
Yeah.
And then the ludicrousness of not having a conversation with your partner, of leaving it to interpretation. Certainly then you're like, wait, why am I assuming that I can't just have this adult conversation with my partner about, and I love the words that you used, just I'm noticing this, that, and the other, and what do you think, and so forth. Yeah. Becomes less scary.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Helps me.
Every day we're learning how to be an adult.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love it. Can't avoid it, so might as well join it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Alrighty.
Well, I wish you good luck in the transition to summer clothes, hot girl dresses. I think it's going to be another hot girl summer.
It better be, I tell you.
Yeah.
I'm ready for sure.
Totally. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. All right. So, till next time.
Till next time.
So that's it for another week of Geordie Lass and Doc Sass. We hope you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed chatting. Get in touch and share your questions for relationship remedies and any hot topics you want us to cover. If you need help navigating all things relationships, Anna and Sara are available for one-on-one coaching support. Email info@geordielass.com. Please remember to like, share, subscribe if you've enjoyed listening. And if you've not, how on earth have you made it this far? I promise we'll try harder next time.